Hello. How do you do? Very good to be here. Very good to be back in North Carolina. It's very warm and sunny here. Right? Warm and sunny for me. I come from Michigan. So we have 10 inches of snow last week, so this is very nice. You understand okay? Yes. English, very hard language. Very hard language to learn. Too many words in English sound same but mean different thing. Right? For example, 2 days ago, wake up, kiss dear wife, and on drive to airport. Almost went into dear. I take shower bare naked and go to zoo and see bear naked. In English alphabet, we have 26 what? So A is a letter, right? And then we put many letters together to create what? Word. So cat is word. And then we put many words together to write someone what? Yeah, to write someone a letter. A is letter, that's very hard. In the United States, we drive on parkway and park on driveway. And happy hour, that's more than 1 hour. That's very good. What first word, first thought, pop in head when you see and hear me? Just yell out. First thing pop in head. Not to be afraid. Chinese, Asian. Oh, Asian. Whoever said that, you're very perceptive. Not hear anything by her, right? What else? What else pop in head? Just yell out. Immigrant, what? Short. Who says short? I'm very tall in Vietnam. What else? Just yell out. First thing pop in head. California. Yeah, someone say good looking. Someone say. Hyper. Yeah, lots of coffee do that for me. Right? How many of you are thinking, I gotta listen really hard to understand him through that accent that he has? That was my very bad Japanese accent that I learned from watching Karate Kid growing up. I don't do that just for fun, I do it for a reason. In graduate school at Michigan State University, a colleague of mine did a research project that he ended up calling the uh-oh syndrome. And the uh-oh syndrome was this. He would watch and observe classes in the fall to find out, to see what would happen when monolingual English-speaking students would encounter accents from university professors. So he plopped himself down that first day of class in the fall, and he watched what would happen. And as soon as these professors would start speaking with their accents, what would some of the students do? Now, first of all, they say, uh-oh, that's where we got the name of this research project. And then what would some of them do? Exactly, leave. Drop the class, never to return. Presumably because they didn't want to have to deal with the accent. Well, what my colleague did was he watched and observed the students who elected to stay in their class. He watched them throughout the semester. And to make a long story short, this is what he found out. At the end of the semester, he asked the students who stayed, he asked them, what was the communication like? Can you tell me a little bit more about those interactions? Many of the students said, we thought we'd have communication issues, but we really didn't. They said, over the course of the semester, we learned to understand and decipher words that we could not understand at first. Kind of like what we do with little kids, right? How many of you have been around little kids who are first starting to speak? Raise your hand. Yeah, if they were your kids, you better been around them when they were first starting to speak. And when they were first starting to speak, could you understand every word that they said? No! At that point, did you say, uh-oh, just drop the parenting class? Some of you probably wanted to at various points, though, didn't you? No, you stuck around, and over the course of time, you learned to understand one another. Very simple question here. Why did you stick around? Because you had to. Somebody said you had to. Let's just assume you stuck around because you loved them and cared about them, right? At least that's what we'll tell social services when they stop by. And when you loved them and cared about them, you put some effort into understanding. And when you put some effort into understanding, what happened for you over the course of time? You learned to understand one another. That was the key for these students. The students who cared about something, whether it was their grade, the professor, or something else, when they cared about something, they put some effort into understanding. And when they put some effort into understanding, what happened for them over the course of the semester, do you think? They learned to understand things they could not understand at first. And so what my colleague found out in his research is something we kind of know intuitively. And that something is this. The more effort you put into understanding, the more you understand. Effort is positively correlated with understanding. Those students who had put some minimal level of effort into understanding ended up evaluating these professors as good or better as any other on the campus of Michigan State University. And so in his paper, my colleague wrote this: in our encounters with difference, which we will have more of in the future, we need to give others a chance. We need to give others a chance. I liked what he wrote there, but I liked even more what he wrote after. He wrote this: in our encounters with difference, we need to give ourselves a chance. In our encounters with difference, we need to give ourselves a chance. I love what he wrote because of this reason. See, probably like me, you have watched and observed in our society, when something is wrong, when something is broken, who do we like to go fix first? The other person, right? The other people. Let's go fix the other person. But think about this for a second. At any given moment, we are the other person. At any given moment, we are the other person, and who is the only person you can truly fix? Yourself, exactly. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to help fix you. Now, I'm just going to share some things that I've learned along this journey that others call diversity and inclusion. Some people call me a diversity expert. I don't know if I am one. I don't know what it takes to become one. There's no university you can go to get a PhD in diversity. There's no list of criteria that people come up with that says, if you know all this stuff, if you do all these things, you're now a diversity expert. There's nothing like that. If I'm an expert in anything, and that's a big if, but if I am one, it's around human behavior. See, my PhD is in communication. And if you know anything about the field of communication, you know it grows out of two more well-known prominent fields called psychology and sociology. And so you can think of me as a psychosociologist. I'm a psychosociologist. What I do as a psychosociologist is I study human behavior. The particular area of human behavior I study is this: what do human beings do? What do we do when we encounter new things? How do we respond? How do we react cognitively and affectively as we encounter new and novel things? Whether those new and novel things are new people, novel ideas, what do we do in the midst of uncertainty and ambiguity? How do we handle change and stress? I'm also a cognitive neuroscientist. You know what that means? It means I'm much smarter than you. No, it just means I study the brain. I'm a geek who studies the brain, so I look at how the brain responds to new things. And if I have time, hopefully I can share some of that with you. Now, even if I wore this thing called a diversity expert, let me share this with you. I still make mistakes around issues of diversity. I do this work all the time. I've written a book on it, many articles, travel all over the world talking about these issues. I think about this thing called diversity and inclusion basically 24/7, and I still make mistakes. Now, this thing called diversity and inclusion is on my mind basically 24/7, and I still make mistakes. Guess where that puts some of you? Let me share with you one of the mistakes I've made in the past. Because of what I do, I fly a lot. Last year, I put out over 250,000 miles in the air, just found various places across the world, giving talks and presentations like this one. The curious thing about that is this: I have a fear of flying. Now, obviously, it's not so bad that I don't fly, but it's bad enough that it makes me do a certain thing when I do fly. And the certain thing I do is this: as soon as I step onto an airplane, I look onto the flight deck to make sure that we have good pilots. As if I know what a good pilot looks like, right? But that's what I would do. That's my coping mechanism. And every time I would step onto a plane and look onto the flight deck, who would I see flying the planes? What would the pilots look like? White men, yeah, white men, white males. Now, see, I grew up in inner city LA, Compton, Long Beach, Bellflower. I didn't grow up with terms white men, white males. I always said white guys. White guys, yeah. And white guys in here, don't be offended by that. That's just a term of endearment from me to you, right? I love white guys. I love white people. Some of them are my best friends. But don't be offended by that. I'll say Asian guys, black guys, white guys. Anyway, every time I would step onto a plane and look onto the flight deck, I would see white guys. Over and over and over, I would see white guys. And after a while of seeing this, what is my mental model of who flies planes? White guys, exactly. I want white guys to fly the planes I'm on. It's worked very well for me in the past. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm expecting every time I step onto a plane. But one day a few years back, I stepped onto a plane, looked onto the flight deck like I always do, but this time I saw a woman. And my gut reaction was, oh crap. And that may not have been the four-letter word I used at that time. Now I share that story with you to get this point across. We all have those types of gut reactions. We all have those types of gut reactions when we encounter things that do not fit our mental models. The question becomes, what do we do at the point of gut reaction? Because research suggests our gut reactions influence our subsequent behavior. Other research suggests we're often unaware that we're having these gut reactions. And imagine what your behavior could be like if you have a negative gut reaction towards somebody or something and you're unaware of your negative gut reaction. Imagine what your subsequent behavior could be like, even though you consider yourself a nice, caring, compassionate person. Right? Well, just so you don't have to imagine, let me give you an example. How many of us in this room grew up in an environment around people who told us that people who have tattoos are not good people? How many were told to don't hang out with people with tattoos? Whether you believed it or not, that's not what I'm asking, but how many of you got those types of messages? Raise your hand. Yeah, so a number of us got those types of messages. So let's just say for the moment that a number of us in this room have a negative mental model of people with tattoos, right? So now consider you're a hiring manager at a company. You have a job opening. You get a bunch of applications in. You shuffle through the applications, and you come down to two applicants, A and B. They're pretty much the same on paper, so you need to have them in for a personal face-to-face interview. Candidate A comes in. They kind of look like you. They talk like you. They dress like you. They went to the same school you did. And you're thinking, this is pretty good. But I need to be fair, so I'm going to call candidate B in. So you call candidate B in. Candidate B comes in. They don't look like you. They have a little accent. And you notice they got a tattoo running down their neck. And piercings in other places than their ears. The research suggests who's going to get the job most likely? Candidate A. Candidate A. See, in the field of communication, in that scenario I just gave you, in the field of communication, we call a tattoo noise. Noise is anything that impedes me from understanding you the way that you want me to understand you. Noise is anything that prevents me from getting my message across to you the way that I intend to get my message across to you. So a tattoo is noise. If a loud radio is playing in this room and you could not hear me, that's noise. That's how often people think of as noise, as measured in decibels. But you know what else is noise? Noise is if we're having a conversation, we're talking to one another, and you look at me and you notice, I got a booger hanging out my nose. I got a little crusty booger, just a tip of a little crusty booger, not the whole thing, just the tip of one, right? And you start to fixate on that little booger. And as I'm telling you stuff, are you actually listening to me? No, you're trying to devise strategies until I got a booger hanging out my nose, right? So a tattoo can be noise, a loud radio can be noise, a booger can be noise. But you know what else is noise? You know what else is noise? Noise is, could be, depending on the environment you grew up in, noise could be somebody's skin color. Noise could be somebody's gender. Noise could be somebody's political affiliation, Democrat, Republican. Noise could be somebody's religion. Noise could be where somebody went to school. I'm a Michigan State Spartan. Go State. You know what's noisy to me? A Michigan Wolverine. So lots of things can serve as noise. Lots of things can serve as noise. And when I work with organizations, I say this to them, I say, and noise can obscure talent. Noise can prevent me from seeing talent as it is because I can't get past the noise. I can't get past the tattoo because I was told certain things. See, and we've been told certain things about certain dimensions, human factors. We were told that maybe skin color was correlated with something that wasn't good. Or the gender was correlated with a job that women can do, but other jobs that women can't do. We were told certain things, and sometimes we never ask, is it true or not?